Welcome back to Small Caps, ladies and gentlemen. Once again, it is my update with Tony Locantro from Alto Capital. Haven't spoken to him since the Melbourne Cup. Think we might have to do giddy up and have a chat about that and have a chat about a few other things today. Both of us wearing black T-shirts. I wonder what they say. You know what? Put it in the comments below if you know what our T-shirts say. And Tony, we're going to get on with that in a minute. But how'd you go on Melbourne Cup Day? What a day.
Best day of the year. I went to Crown Ballroom with Juliana. We dressed up for about the first time all year. And I put a lot of money on Gold Trip. The fact it was a good horse and right name. So suddenly I was half cut on Bottomless Verve. And then $13,600 appeared in my sports bet account. So
I don't like it. Sorry, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to have to cut this conversation short this week. I'm terribly sorry. Enjoy the rest of your week. Bugger off, Tony.
No, but I hate sports gambling. I think it's a hideous, insidious thing. I only bet for about 3 weeks a year. So I immediately cashed out $13,000 of that 13.6, and I'm gambling free till October next year. But what a day. Gold Trip, what can I say?
Do you know what? If you and I, we often talk about, gold and, we all know silver and gold, there's no counterparty risk. So when I saw Gold Trip, imagine if I'd put a bet on something else. Well, everybody said to me as soon as they saw that horse, they went, I bet you put the money on Gold Trip. Well, it was 3 minutes before the race and I suddenly went, oh. And I was just at a quiet lunch. It wasn't anything outrageous. Didn't dress. Oh, I dressed up a little bit. Should show you my photo. Anyway, so 3 minutes before they jumped, I popped the only thing I had in my sports bet account, which was $40. And here's the thing, ladies and gentlemen, I didn't have true faith. I put it each way.
Well, yeah, there you go. And I'm trying to avoid gambling, but I'm heavily into speculative stocks. So I'm a bigger oxymoron than a vegan treat.
Well, we're going to talk about speculation. We're going to talk about investing. We're going to talk about what's going on in the markets in just a moment. But we're like the Bobbsey twins today, Tony. What's your? It's got a bull on it. What's the T-shirt?
Uranium bull, Kerry. Uranium bull. Thanks to Shane at Murdoch Creative.
All right, hang on a minute. Shout out to Shane from Murdoch Creative. Where's my Uranium Bull T-shirt? You know how much I love uranium. Just
Shane will be there at Noosa apparently. So
bigger shout out, Shane. Bring a T-shirt with you for me.
Yeah.
All right, what's mine say? You don't know.
Yeah.
Of course it does. Keep calm, buy gold, Uranium Bull, and a gold nut here. No, I'm not a gold nut. But anyway, markets, Tony, 500 up, 500 down, 200 sideways. Doesn't really have direction at the moment. But one of the things that I think people need to be aware of is everyone wants to time, the bottom of the market or the top of the market. Or, you know what? Don't try and time the market. Get in the market. But listen to what Tony's saying and be sensible. And don't go and listen to great Aunt Bessie that hasn't put a dime of their dollars into the market and who tells you to go invest in something you've never heard of, because that will always bring tears. Don't you think, Tony?
Absolutely. And if you look at coin fashions and you look at the devastation in some of these speculative areas where, look, if you want to lose your family, tip them stocks. And I'm progressively wearing out my family, which is interesting. But look, the thing is, Kerry, tech stocks have absolutely been slaughtered and markets are getting hammered. You look at the price of Meta over the year, it's gone from a few $100 down to 90. Atlassian got poleaxed. Netflix has been heavily sold off. So if you look at all these stocks, the Dow Jones doesn't give a true representation of the markets, because that's 30 big names in the US that have something called earnings. And once you've got earnings, you can value something. So I see a bit of strength in our market. The banking sector refuses to give up. despite massive headwinds. But what I'm seeing in the speculative stocks is a mild form of capitulation. So I look at my stocks, one of them today, Red Metal, was sold down on 88 cents worth of stock. So I don't know
How does that work?
Well, someone sold 12 shares. I don't know how. We're not allowed to sell 12 shares, so I don't know what the hell's going on. But this is the time where 97% of speculators are going to fail because you're getting tested to your limits. Just like Juliana pushes me to my pain barrier in the gym. If you can survive this time and do okay out of it, I think you'll look back in a couple of years' time and say, look, remember in 2022, well, I could buy all these wonderful companies at a fraction of the price, but it is testing everyone. Some of my clients start to get passive aggressive, which is normal. I can understand their frustration. And every year I have stocks I call the red-headed stepchildren. I've got some this year. We've only had a few multi-baggers. Stock rotation's been low. Interest in anything has been the worst I've seen in many years. So if you look at the flip side of that, guys, it's time to buy. And really, you've got two options.
But what do you buy? But Tony, what do you buy? I mean, I saw the other day, WA1. I don't follow it that much, but 14 cents to almost $3 on the back of some rock chip samples. I mean, the market doesn't even make sense anymore.
But it's all traders. It's all CXA orders, which is SIBO. These traders can buy and sell. They can change their mind 50 times a day. And what traders can do is suck in liquidity, and then these stocks can ladder as far north as you like until they bring out assay results and the stock potentially collapses. It's all trading. I remember a few years ago, we had a few stocks put on 10 times 1,000% in a day. So these aren't long-term resource funds buying. The stocks are being churned and anything with a pulse is being pounced on. And they look like ASX practice stocks. And I actually had to laugh when a couple of practice stocks ended up in the top movers. So these movements do not make sense. There's FOMO driven. Those that haven't made money this year want to chase this stock based, it might turn out okay, but really you're just gambling. And any day now there could be a trading halt, but that thing better have some grade in it. Otherwise, crash helmets. So look, as I've reiterated to a lot of my company directors, it's a really shitty time to be a real company in the market. No one cares. You can put out the best announcements.
Tony? But why? Why has it got to this? I don't understand. Can you just unpack it for someone as a country girl?
Low share prices breed lethargy. If you're not making money, you're not getting that dopamine hit, you start to get down on your stocks. You'll start to look on internet forums, you'll start to look on Twitter for any chat to have hope. And all you've got there is people bagging the shit out of these stocks because the share price is lower than what they paid for it. I say, look, if you buy a stock at 20 cents and it sits at 22 for 12 months, you're not going to complain, even though the stock's done bugger all. But if the stock halves and it gives you the best buying opportunity, you're down on that company. You look for any hope. You'll start to complain to management. I've had some very well-to-do, well-respected people in the biotech industry, and their CEOs are being smashed with emails from shareholders. I don't know what their expectations are. This year has been horrific for quality small cap stocks, but rewards garbage that can simply put an XRF gun to a rock.
Yeah.
So it's one of those times where, hey, you've just got to get through this time. This year for me will go negative, but some years I've had 120, 150%. I've been doing this for 24 years. I had breakfast a couple of weeks ago with a 23-year client who's won First Division Lotto once and Well, that's it. He's had 2 lotto wins with me, lots of wins during the time,
Yeah.
but that's 23 friggin' years.
Yeah.
I don't know what people expect. I say to them, look, this is a good company. They progress through the ranks, but no one gives a toss. Share price drops, selling begets selling, and then suddenly they're miserable and they want to give up at the bottom. So I've got a handful of clients who are really enjoying this weakness, and I think are set up for the next 2 years because quality juniors always progress no matter what shenanigans are happening in the world. And that you go back to September 11, you go back to the tsunami, you look at the dot-com crash, nothing stopped these companies. And the course I ran last night, I made a whole slide on the fear of a capital raising. And that is the biggest barrier to investors becoming shareholders in a company, because they always worry if they're going to run out of money. And I say to my clients, the fear of a capital raising is much worse than the event itself.
So when you say the fear of a capital raising, only because they're looking at it as a dilutionary situation, is that what you mean?
Absolutely. But drilling for a mine costs money. Employing people to hold clinical trials costs money. Employing costs money. You see complaints about directors' salaries. Many directors now are taking pay cuts and will take their salary in stock. And I go back to Bernard Rowe, who took his salary in shares for the old Global Science. I think it was at 0.6%, which became Ioneer and went to about 80. So, yeah. And some of these companies, well, most of them, if they're good enough, overcome the dilution. So at the moment, I think we're reaching peak paranoia in the small cap sector. And this is why 97% will fail in speculation.
But not 97% of companies will fail. And right now, what we've got this whole, I guess, this move, as we've spoken about it before, into the green revolution, if you like. And it doesn't matter which way you cut it, Tony. There's not enough copper. There's not enough metals across the board for the demand that is like a tsunami. It's headed our way. It's just right now. It's almost like we're in the eye of the storm, wouldn't you say? Because to me, I'm looking at going, well, the copper price shot up by about 8% this week or end of last week. It feels like the time is coming, but it's the eye of the storm right now.
Absolutely. It's kind of like the greyhound and the rabbit. Sometimes, these things are close, but it's just going to take a while. New mines, firstly, we need to make copper discoveries for a start. Then you need all that environmental, if you might have a rare frog on your ground, heaven help you, you then have to cap all the PVC piping so the animals don't have a water slide down into the never never. There's just too much red tape to get things into production.
Yeah.
And what you're going to see is finally Demetallica and AIC agreed to get married. I thought Demetallica could have got a bit more, but suddenly, why would you drill for years and take 10 years to build a mine when you can simply buy it at a discount price? Because you can say this will be stronger for longer, but it's a major theme. It takes time to play out, and often you get disappointed. It was like the theme of interest rates lower for longer. Suddenly on Melbourne Cup Day, we get hit with another rise. We're at 2.85. So now there's speculation that in December, the RBA will round it up to 3%. Oh, just round it up. It's like donating 15 cents when you buy a Domino's pizza.
No one's got a real clue. We do know that the inflation genie's out of the bottle. It's not going to go away. It does make some of these projects a little bit more challenging. And, we also know the Aussie dollar has been struggling, got a little bit stronger over the past couple of weeks, could get a little bit stronger still. But I think that there's a lot of geopolitical risk around the world. And there's a lot of posturing by various governments around the world, a little bit of alpha male, not so much alpha female, but a lot of alpha male going around beating their chests and threatening war, which makes for a very uncertain time.
Oh, God, you've got that madman in North Korea firing missiles. You've got Ukraine, Russia. And then suddenly you've got Elon Musk, who's doing his best to destroy Twitter. And I put out a tweet today. I said that what Musk has done to Twitter is like me trying to cook Juliana a romantic dinner. Because when you get to the end, no amount of corn flour or salt is going to save it. But he's laying off staff willy-nilly. Then he wants them back. Then you've got the chaser saying Elon Musk fondles whatever, and they still haven't been blocked yet. It's a circus now, Kerry. It's a circus. And this guy has spent $44 billion to destroy Twitter. So it just adds, I mean, this whole year, let's cue the Benny Hill theme song. It's just been absolute madness. And students of the future will look back at 2022 and say, what the F's been going on then?
Yeah, and I thought 2013 was a bad year, but 2022 is
2013. Oh God, what was happening then?
I just didn't. I can't remember actually why it was so sort of this is the worst year ever, but next year will be better. But I remember it was 2013 because I said, oh well, 13 is an unlucky number. That's why it's a bad year. But we are looking at even more interesting times at the moment. But look, let's get on to something a little bit more positive. And I mentioned just before, the copper price had a bit of a surge. There's not enough copper supply, not even close to meet demand. And I know you follow a couple of copper stocks, so I'm going to put you on the spot here. You want to share most of the time you don't like to share, but are there any out there that you're following?
Well, there's two in particular that we rode to 10-bag heaven that have come crashing back to earth, and both of those, and they're Stavely, SVY, and Eagle Mountain Mining, which both went into the $30s and haven't done too much wrong, and now find themselves back at Eagle Mountain's back at about 18.5, and Stavely is 14. And I've watched Chris talk, and he said, well, the resource we came up with was fine. So the 9 million tonnes at the Cayley lode, they are now going to start looking seriously for the porphyry. And I think the disappointment with Stavely has been they haven't found it. They've still got a viable resource. It's going to grow. So they look an amazing buy again, because we got in there at 10 to 15 cents, rode them all the way up to $1.35. And that was one of the few stocks I've nailed the top. That was A+ my selling. And Eagle Mountain are looking to develop a copper mine in Arizona, and they've got a very exciting exploration project called Oryx that could be another Oracle Ridge, but they've just got to get the environmental approvals to drill it. So there too, but where the real cheesecake could be is Maronan, which are going to drill a deep hole, hopefully within a few months, looking for another Cannington at depth, and they've already hit some good copper gold. That could be one of the prizes in Cloncurry. And my Powerball long shot stock is Copper Search, code is CUS. They're trading at 17.5 cents. They have a lot of targets at Peak and Denison, which is in South Australia. And this is where Demetallica, in joint venture with Oz Minerals, just got some sniffs of copper. And the geological theory is that it broke away from Cloncurry. So it's similar to Cloncurry, which is a copper province of note. So this could be early mover advantage, which will be the merged AIC Mines and Demetallica, and Copper Search have a decent whack of ground in there as well. So Copper Search, Stavely, Eagle Mountain, Maronan. That'd be my four copper.
And they're Tony's picks, ladies and gentlemen. But here's what I don't want you to do. I don't want you to go, oh, Tony's the all-knowing. I want you to get to work. And I want you to do the work. And I want you to read the research. And I want you to reach out to the company. And I want you to understand, because we don't do financial advice. I mean, Tony is a broker. He works with Alto Capital, so he can help you. Me, I'm working with Smallcaps, but what I want you to do is I want you to do the work. And if you're lazy and you don't want to do the work, then send an email to Tony and let him do the work for you. But whatever you do, don't just write down a company name and go, oh, yes, let's put some money into that. Because unless you know what you're doing, don't do it. Would that be fair, Tony?
Oh, I couldn't agree more. It's like buying a new car and not servicing it. Eventually, well, probably new cars are fine. They'll probably run forever. Maybe we're being bullshitted about these service intervals, but yeah, you just can't do it like that. You cannot stick your head in the sand, because what my clients generally do, they're prolific non-sellers. And whenever I phoned a client yesterday to get him out of a four-bagger, and I felt like a criminal telling him to sell the stock to buy something else. I mean, how can you operate? It's not an exact science. You make 4 or 5 times your money, you sell some, you move to the next one. But this year, the bulk of the major runs have been rubbish stocks or companies that have followed a trend, jumped on a bandwagon, and are now overpriced. And I've got a lot of my clients that probably have order envy this year. You know, you sit there at a wedding, you've got the dry chicken breast, the person next to you gets the perfectly cooked sirloin. That's what this year's been. Because everyone else has got to these stupid valuations, and our stocks a lot of them have been cut in half this year. I've had a few multis, but then suddenly everyone comes out, and I know I shouldn't do it, but I do occasionally read the comments section and I cop it. But I can't control the market. I can't control the NASDAQ.
You can't control the comments either. Now, Tony, we're running out of time, and I want to make sure that we cover this, because you're wearing the best T-shirt.
Yeah, well, no, Uranium Bull.
Sorry. Yeah. I'm wearing the best T-shirt. Keep up and buy gold, because there's no counterparty risk, ladies and gentlemen. But Tony's got the second best one from Shane from Murdoch Creative, who's going to make sure he brings one to Noosa. Uranium. Yep. Now, we're in an energy crisis. The uranium price hasn't moved all that much, but you know what? I think it's time. It's coming. And I was just speaking a couple of days ago with Simon Mitchell. He's the new guy. There's an IPO coming up called Orpheus Minerals. And what I liked about this was they've got projects in the Northern Territory and South Australia, which are both very friendly to uranium. And on top of that, Jeff Yupini, who's been in the uranium industry for 40, 50 years, he knows his stuff. And so it was interesting talking to Simon. I think the ASX code is ORP. I can't be certain, but it's Orpheus Minerals. And it's really interesting because geopolitically, Australia, great place to be. Northern Territory, South Australia. And, you know, what a great jurisdiction he's in. But I want to hear from you. Do you like uranium?
Well, I'm a uranium bull as per this T-shirt. Look, I'm not expecting the bubble of 2005, 2006.
No,
that was madness. You could have bought Paladin for 0.8%. Yep. And if you're in a coma or went to prison without internet, you could have sold it at $10.52. I'm not expecting that. I think if you're going to look for money flow, you look at the likes of Bannerman, Paladin, Deep Yellow, etc. But they're money flow stocks. They're very hard to value. We're just picking off the odd shares in a company called Basin Energy. The code is BSN. They're trading at about 16 cents. They're in the Athabasca Basin in Canada.
Yeah, very exciting.
I mentioned it before. It's a great address, but the thing is, if the uranium sector takes off, everything will run. So, but I guess you don't want to pick the worst uranium stock that either goes bust through production. But I have a saying, look, sometimes the worst thing you can do to a decent resource in the ground is try and mine the bloody thing or put an engagement ring on someone. They're the worst things sometimes you can do, Kerry.
Listen, the thing that people also have to understand is a lot in the small cap space, a lot of these companies will go out, they'll do a drilling campaign, they'll start to drill up the resource, they'll start to put some work around it, and then one of the big boys, excuse me, comes along and says, let's get married. And then everybody does well. You know, the major will turn around and they've got something which has been proved up, and the small cap shareholders get rewarded. So that's what people have. And I think more of that will start to happen as we go on into the years ahead because of that supply demand, which is just so out of whack.
It is, but it will take time to filter through, and you do need the hot money. What we need really is greed to make a roaring comeback, not have these stocks driven by computerized trading. So once we can get off the canvas, we can become, it's just lethargy. Everyone's finished for the year. They just don't care about announcements anymore. But I can assure viewers, if you buy the right stocks now, look, there might be some more downside, but this is like being sandpapered to death by Dave Hughes, the market at the moment. That's how bad it is.
All right, final word goes with you, but to you, my friend. But before we do, I'll say this: that if you buy smart, if you buy correctly, then this is the time that I don't like to say fortunes will be made, but be smart, be cautious, be smart, and know that the stock market is always going to be there. Some companies won't be if they're badly managed or in the wrong commodity. So please, 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 as I always say, do your own research or let Tony do it for you. Final word goes to you, Tony, before we come back in a couple of weeks.
2023 is going to be a much better year than 2022, especially for my stable of stocks. That's all I can say. If it's any worse, well, I'm going to have to wait a bit longer. But it's been a horrific year. Let's enjoy the Christmas break. I'll start to divulge a few more stocks over the next few weeks, and let's get back together in a fortnight.
Always friendly. And by the way, just before, I was going to give him the last word, ladies and gentlemen, but I can't do that. I'm going to say this. Philip Carinia from Small Caps and myself, not Tony. They wouldn't let him into Queensland. We're going to be at the Noosa Mining Conference at Peppers Resort in Noosa. Starts tomorrow. No, it starts today. Sorry, it starts this afternoon. And it goes through until Friday. Now, if you happen to be going to Noosa Mining, please come and say hello. We will be there. You can't miss me. You know what I look like. So make sure you come and say hi. It's run by the wonderful Phil, his wife Jo, and Des, and his wonderful wife. So it's I think they've got something like 54 companies. That's your chance to go and eyeball them and ask them why you should give them your hard-earned money. So Noosa Mining Conference, 9th to the 11th of November, up there at the beautiful Peppers Resort in Noosa. Just a free plug for Phil. What can I say?
Or watch it online.
Oh, yes, you can. Thank you, Tony. Yep.
Yeah.
Go to noosaminingconference.com.au because you can watch it virtually as well. So if you can't make it, like Tony, if they don't let you in, borders shut for certain people, you can watch it online. Just go to noosaminingconference.com.au, register, and then they'll keep you updated. But it's going to be a fun few days. Tony, talk to you in a couple of weeks. Thanks for joining me on Small Caps.
Bye, everyone.